大家好，我是阿婉，来关注一下关于中国的一个比较古典的政治文化。大寨红色旅游，从毛泽东的乌托邦到习近平的自力更生。我不知道就是观众朋友们，大家就是对于就是红色革命，或者说对于大寨有什么那个啥，大寨在我的印象中还是非常的，就是我是没有这个概念的。因为我们的课本中，就是我这一代的课本中已经没有大寨的影子了，所以当我读到这篇文章的时候，我感觉到就是有一些就是怎么说呢，有一些就是陌生。可是从红色旅游又是毛泽东，这显然又是一个很熟悉的话题。就怎样想到了什么文化大革命？文化大革命之前是大跃进，只有看过一些电视剧，就是关于大跃进，然后全国人民都砸锅卖铁，然后集体什么公社。我大概的印象就是这一些。那这篇文章就是有点怎么说呢？有点超出意外吧。因为好像感觉一直生活在当下，然后突然一下子带我们回到了1960年的中国，就是毛泽东就是曾经把偏远的山村大寨我还查了一下，它是位于就是中国的山西省太原市的一个县。然后以山村大寨为榜样，然后宣称凭借普通农民的辛勤劳作就能创造出社会主义的乌托邦，证明对共产党的信仰和勤奋工作足以征服最艰苦的地形。所以说当时是响应毛泽东向大寨学习的号召，逾千万人民曾造访这座位于中国北方山西省的小村庄，学习他艰苦奋斗和反资本主义的热忱精神。那大多数人是在1966到1976灾难性的文化大革命时期到访。那当时是作为半文盲的大寨党支书陈永贵被推举至北京的中央政治局。那如今大寨的农民已经基本消失，梯田已经坍塌，机器和企业化农业就取代了人力在仅存的梯田上劳作。但是村民们的工作主要为了一件依然没有改变的是，大寨作为招生地和象征的地位，它象征着共产党希望中国成为的样子。尽管这个愿景本身也是在不断发生变化。如今的游客是怀念自己六七十年代青春岁月的老一辈人，但也包括参加党组织的旅行团的年轻人。所以说这里是中国名言不绝的红色旅游路上的必经之地。那这条路线也串起众多党的一个历史遗迹，既融合了大众旅游的胡华，又承载着热衷党史的中国领导人习近平所说的精神之养。所以大寨的人民公社曾经是村里唯一的雇主，如今曾经位于大寨中心的简陋窑洞被改造成了一家精品酒店，在一家煤炭公司的投资支持下是去年开业。那虎头山曾经是那位书记领导民众实现了被吹捧为非凡壮举的重点地带，运来泥土使沿途地面适合耕种，如今耕田大多已被废弃，因为面积太小，然后不够稳定，不能够使用农业器械。那这些部分的事迹也是会证明说是造假的，大部分是真正的工作是由军队完成的，而不是当地的农民，而且借助了机器的力量。这座山也成为了收作景点，山上有座佛教寺庙，然后还有那位已故党支部书记陈永贵的墓地。所以说自力更生是一个历久弥新的口号。1945年，毛泽东曾将其就是确立为党的指导原则。此时距离他夺取政权还有4年，他认为打败一切中外反动派是无敌武器。那习近平是已经不再谈论反动派，但他把自力更生作为共产党的核心理念，将其革命传承与当前通过经济增长实现民族复兴的追求是融合在了一起。这标志着政策重点的急剧转向。自邓小平1970年代末开启中国经济的对外开放后，数十年间，自力更生理念虽仍出现在对毛泽东的公式化效忠宣言中，但整体上是被淡化。这个口号一度在中国与朝鲜联系在一起，朝鲜是可怕的、落后的、贫困的代名词。澳大利亚弗洛伊东亚研究问题高级研究员就是在党有关中国政治体系的著作《党的 Party》书的作者马立德说，这完全是一个负面的概念。那如今是在习近平的领导下，自力更生的政策与实现高科技独立、安全和进步的愿景紧密联系，构筑出具有中国特色的数字极乐世界。这一政策虽然远非毛泽东或朝鲜推动的经济自给自足，但仍然将外部世界视为威胁。只不过它重点是投资与确保中国永远不会依赖西方，从而避免陷入脆弱境地，特别是在半导体和计算机操作系统等关键技术方面。自力更生的 新含义是大寨就是重塑自我，从农村反资本主义的灯塔变成了资本主义商业的风潮。以前的农民如今开着商店，出售毛泽东纪念品、本地的烧酒和歌颂大寨精神的搪瓷杯。一些餐馆还向充满怀旧情感的游客提供树皮装点的面条，让人回想起中国的饥荒年代。在陈永贵掌权期间，现年74岁的贾天年在大寨务农。他说，陈永贵调往北京并卷入文化大革命，这场长达10年的政治动荡之后，村民们就很少见到这位村长了。但在他的记忆中，陈永贵是个好人，在那个动荡时期保护大寨没有遭受最严重的暴力事件，并在1963年灾难性洪水期间令村庄免遭毁灭。贾天年如今仍然在他家外面的小块土地上种植生菜和韭菜，但他很久就放弃了村里集体农场，在20世纪80年代初解散后分给他的更大块的土地。他把地卖给了当地一家农业企业，该企业现在控制着村里的大部分土地。他的2个儿子离开大寨到别处找工作，一个当司机，另一个在煤矿。因为没有年轻人愿意在下地干活了，他和妻子共同的单间屋里挂着毛泽东和习近平的海报，但这幅画像的尺寸远不及另外一幅财神的像。那大寨曾经作为反对个体经营和财富差距的象征，如今这个角色已被小心翼翼地从官方的红色旅游叙述中抹去。官方这种叙述只在宣扬一段为追求坚定不移的目标而牺牲的进化版历史，来巩固对党的忠诚。有些人未能跟得上这套说辞，在陈永贵的帮助下，城市农民的李延良在北京的领导大院谋得一份差事。后来他回到家乡，在大寨开启了一桌小饭馆，餐厅有一个用窗帘隔开的用餐区，装饰着老照片和宣传海报，其中有毛泽东第4任也是最后一任妻子江青。李延良说，他并不是在表示对江青的支持。江青在毛泽东死后除了被塑造成恶毒的邪恶的毒妇之外，已经基本上从党史上抹去。他说，他只是想记录下他2次前来大寨，并一直在支持这个村子的事实。提起官方历史将他诋毁为凶残的左派狂热分子时，他回答说，过去的就让他过去吧。曾是中国领导人的陈永贵本人也是狂热分子，他和1977年来访的柬埔寨红色高棉领袖、种族灭绝罪犯波尔布特志同道合，但游客仍把他奉为对党无限忠诚的楷模。他老家的门口桌上摆着他的黑白照和毛泽东的胸像，前面各有一堆游客进献的香烟。那陈永贵是死于肺癌。一些游客对这种狂热没什么兴趣。51岁的西安商人李文说，他来大寨只是因为家里有3位长辈想来，他对这些东西并无感，早就没这些事儿了。但经历过的人怀念。来自山西省太原的一群党员游客中，黄晓明坚定认为不只是怀旧，他把毛泽东去世后中国惊人的经济增长归功于自力更生。他带着同伴在院子里举着一面巨大的党旗合影，墙上红字写着习近平的名言：幸福都是奋斗出来的。很多老年人担心年轻人已经听不进这句话。65岁的袁国强和老伴一起来参观，都朗着说他们没吃过苦，现在还是需要大寨精神。他说，村子中央有一棵树，曾经叫苦人树的垂柳，据说解放前地主会在这里鞭打不听话的长工，有时打得太狠会把人打死。共产党夺权后枪毙地主，这棵树就改名为乐人树。老树快要倒了，现在用一根伪装成树干的水泥柱子撑着，但这个曾提醒着人们1949年前后中国人互相施加暴行的当地地标，已不再是大寨导游路线上的一个官方景点。这篇文章吧，好像写了一个很遥远的过去，然后又是一个当下的农村。我不知道你是怎么样的感想，是觉得这个记忆它曾经有属实的部分吗？Anyway， 作为一篇英文朗读素材也是不错的，因为这讲到了我们自己国家的一些历史和文化。Where mouse Peasants tear the shore to them, now pay for the view。 如果你还没有订阅我，请订阅一下我吧。Promising a socialist utopia built with the toil of ordinary farmer, Mao Zedong singled out the remote mountain village of Dazai as proof that faith in the Communist Party and hard work could conquer the harshest terrain. The villagers wielding pickaxe, hoes, and their bells hands more than half a century ago was said to have carved terrace out of stony hillsides, honing soil to turn barren slopes into miraculously bountiful fields of corn. More than 10 million Chinese visited the tiny village in Shanxi province in northern China, obeying Mao's order to leave from Dazai and soak up its history of hardship and anti-capitalist fever. Most came during China's disastrous 1966 to 76 Cultural Revolution, during which Dazai's semi-military party boss Chen Yonggui was elevated to the Politburo in Beijing. Today, the farmers of Dazai have mostly vanished. Many of their terraces have crumbled, while machines and corporate farming have replaced their labor on those that remained. Villagers now mainly work to serve the one thing that hasn't changed: Dazai's role as a place of pilgrimage and symbol of what the Communist Party would like China to be, though what exactly that is keeping changing. Visitors today are mostly older people with fond memories of their youth in the 60s and 70s, but they also include younger Chinese based on party-organized tours. The place is a must-see stop, China's sprawling red tourism trail of party heritage sites, combining mass tourism free with Xi Jinping, China's top leader and big fan of party history, cause moral nourishment. Primitive cave homes in the middle were used to be Dazai people commune. The villagers' only employee have been turned into boutique hotel, which opened last year, backed by investment from a coal company. On Tiger Heat Mountain, the focus of World War once trumpeted as superhuman feats led by the party chief, honing soil to make rocky ground fit for planting. Terrace fields have mostly been abandoned because they were too small and unstable for heavy farm mechanism. Parts of the story turned out to be fake. Much of the real work was done by the army, not locals, and with the help of machines. The mountain has become a tourist attraction that charges for admission. It has the Buddhist temple, but its main draw is the grave of dedicated Assis Chen, the former party boss. A group of young women, party members at a state-run energy company who were on a recent study tour of Dazai, giggled nervously when asked what a discredited Mao-era model villager had to do with today's China. One man eventually answered the spirit of self-reliance using the Chinese phrase 自力更生, a Maoist slogan plastered in red paint on walls around the villager. Self-reliance, the literal translation, is the generations through one's own efforts. It's a slogan for all seasons. It was first declared the party guiding principle by Mao in 1945. 4 years before he seized power in Beijing, he deemed it an invisible weapon to defeat all Chinese and foreign reactionary. Mr. Xi doesn't talk about reactionary, but he has made self-reliance a cornerstone of the party's effort to meld its revolutionary past with its current pursuit of national rejuvenation through economic growth. This is a sharp shift in emphasis. For decades after Deng Xiaoping opened up the Chinese economy to the world in the late 1970s, the idea of self-reliance reliance was played down through its still propped up in formulated declaration of loyalty to Mao. It became associated in China with North Korean bite war for greenback warnings and desperation, said Richard McGregor, the author of Party, a book on China's political system, and a senior fellow for East Asia at the Lowy Institute and Australia Research Centre. It was a totally negative concept. Nowadays, under sea, a policy of self-reliance is tied to vision of high-tech independence, security, and achievement, a kind of digital nirvana with Chinese characteristic. Mr. McGregor said that policy, though far from the economy autarky prompted by Mao or North Korea, still seems the outside world as a threat, but it is now focused on investing to make sure China is never dependent on and therefore vulnerable to the West, particularly for critical technologies like semiconductors and computer operating systems. The new meaning of self-reliance has allowed Dazai to reinvent itself, changing from the beacon of Euro and anti-capitalist favor into a hive of capitalist commons. Former farmers run shops selling Mao chickens, locally distilled grey liquors, and in them marks celebrating the Dazai spirit. For visitors with serious case of nostalgia, some restaurants offer noodles, gassing with cheap bark, a throwback to China's Day of Hunger. 贾天连 74, who worked the fields during China's rule, said villagers did not see much of their chief after he moved to Beijing and became immersed in the Cultural Revolution, a decade of political turmoil, but he remembers him as a good man who saved Dazai from the worst of the period violence and from ruin during catastrophic flooding in 1963. Mr. Jia still grows lettuce and leeks on tiny patches of soil outside his home, but he long ago gave up the more substantial plots he was given after the villagers' collective fund disbanded in the earlier 1980s. He sold them to a local farming enterprise that now controls most of the villager land. His two sons left Dazai to find work elsewhere, one as a driver and other as a coal mine, because no young people want to work in the fields anymore. The single-room home he shared with his wife has posters featuring Mao and Mr. Xi, but they are dwarfed in size by a tribute to the god of wealth. Dazai is passed over as a symbol of opposition to individual enterprise and wealth in equality has been carefully scrambled from the official radicalism narrative, which is aimed at solidifying loyalty to the party by trumpeting a sanitized history of sacrifice in pursuit of unwavering goals, so have failed to keep up with the script. Li Yanliang, a former farmer, got a job thanks to Chen in the leadership compound in Beijing and later returned home to open a small restaurant in Dazai. It has a curtained-off dining area decorated with all photographers and propaganda posters featuring Jiang Qing, Mao's first and last wife. Mr. Li said he was not showing support for Jiang, who was arrested after Mao's death and has been largely written out of the party history, except as a kind of evil witch. He says he just wanted to record the fact that she visited Dazai twice and always supported the villager, reminded that official history reveals her as a murderess. Davis fanatic, he answered the party's past. Chen, the former party boss, was also a fanatic. He saw eye to eye with Pol Pot, Cambodia genocider, Commonwealth leader who visited Dazai in 1977, but is favored by red tourism for his devotion to the party. His framed black and white photograph sit stop a table at the entrance to his former home, next to a bus on mall. Before each is pile of cigarettes left as offered by reverential visitors 10 died of lung cancer. The Baron lives some bitterly called Li-Wen, a 51-year-old businessman from Xi'an, said he had only come to Dazai because his elderly relatives wanted to make the trip. I don't really care about any of this stuff, he said. He added, none of it exists anymore, but people who remember is nostalgic. Huang Xiaomin, one of the group of party members visited from Taiyuan, the capital of Shanxi, insisted there was more at work than nostalgia. He pointed to self-resilience as the key to China's extraordinary economic growth since Mao's death. He led his fellow travelers in a group photo shoot with a big Communist Party flag in a courtyard where large red characters on the wall screamed a quote from Mr. Xi, "Happiness only comes from struggle." Many older Chinese fears that this message has been lost on younger generation. They never had to experience hardship. Grumble Yong Guoqiang, 65, who was visited with his wife, we still need the Dazai spirit, he said. At the center of the village stands a weeping widow once known as the Tree of Suffering, where visitors were told landlords used to with disobedient neighbors sometimes so fiercely that they died. After the Communist Party seized power and executed landlords, the story went, it became the Happy Man tree. To keep it from falling over, the H tree is now propped up by a concrete post, shaped to look like a tree trunk. But this local landmark a reminder of the brutality that Chinese people inflicted on each other before and after the 1949 revolution is no longer an official stop on guided tours of 大寨。Thanks for your listening. 感觉这一篇读起来好累啊。